This entrepreneur built a $1 million business in the most boring and predictable way.
I never built a company myself with external funding, so everything I've built was bootstrapped. The venture case is either 100 million or it's out, it's nothing. But I don't want the 100 million or nothing approach.
He tells us exactly how he got there.
The first customers, that is a great question, and a lot of people struggle with this. So back then I had no audience.
And he tells us how anyone can take their business to the next level.
1 million ARR is a fantastic milestone, but I'm already since a few months I'm looking at how can I build a business that goes into 10 million, into 10 million revenue.
We want to have peer-to-peer conversations. The question is how to win.
Let's talk about 1 million ARR and bootstrapping that. So you are a big fan of bootstrapping. You have a couple of posts, I think on LinkedIn or Twitter, where you say, you like bootstrapping. You would, in many cases, it doesn't make sense to, take on VC money. I used to work in VC in Shanghai, and I have this one memory where I was with a bit of a mentor of mine. We were on a conference, and I was pretty young in the game, in the venture capital investing game. And we talked, and one thing this guy said that stuck with me was, all of these businesses that we're meeting here, I think most of the businesses that we have invested in or that we are engaging with as VC investors, we actually fucked up more businesses than we made successful. Because a lot of the businesses that we invest in, they get pressured into doing certain things that otherwise, if they, didn't have people in the back, investors with their own interest, they would grow, they would slowly become profitable, they would do their own thing, find their own niche. Instead, they try to, blow up and kind of conquer the world. And then obviously, power law, only very few of them actually achieve that, right? So then the question is, I think that could be true, like in terms of total numbers. Probably as a VC, you make a couple of dozen companies mega big and successful, but then probably there's quite a lot of companies that just go to shits. Obviously, on the other hand, you help, in terms of dollars, you help a lot of market capitalization to be generated, right? So kind of you are creating some value as a VC, but that's something that stuck with me from that conversation. So what are your thoughts on this whole, bootstrapping businesses?
Yeah, so disclaimer, I never built a company myself with external funding. So everything I've built was bootstrapped, and even if I had co-founders, it was bootstrapped. I was part of venture-funded companies, of course, and I follow the industry closely and talk to a lot of founders. But yeah, so at the end of the day, you can think about it from many directions. And one part was go through in like a part of a city, where the industry is the old school industry, or a village, like small towns. If you drive through, you see these companies with huge buildings. You've never heard of them. They are like some local player. And you're like, how did they build this? Like 50 years ago or 30 years ago or 20 years ago, they are able to do this. They are able to, they probably make 10 million in revenue or something like this, or 5 million in revenue, changed the life of the founder and their families. They don't have venture capital, of course not. None of these companies have. They might have taken debt because they needed capital to do, to buy machines, basically. But at the end of the day, they built it without venture capital. So I thought digitally, the burden, like the blockers are even lower. The hurdles are even lower. You can start with a laptop and internet access if you can program. There is no need to buy large machines or something like this. So that is the first part. It's not really necessary to start a digital product or a digital business. So what is it necessary for? It's for scale up. But why do you need to scale up like this? In the beginning, I thought, okay, the return on you as a founder. Let's say you build a business that is 100 million, and you own, at the end of the day, you own 10% of it because you had to sell your stuff to investors. Then you make an exit for 100 million, you own 10%, you get 10 million. On the other hand, I could create a business that is worth 10 million by being able to do 5 million in revenue or something like this, maybe, or 6 million in revenue per year. I get a business that is worth 10 million and I own 100% of it. The outcome for me is the same if I sell it. It's exactly the same return. But what is more likely, to build a 10 million business or to build a 100 million business? And one is much more likely than the other. And even more importantly, even if you are able to build your bootstrap business to 100 million, it's already successful at 10. It might already be successful at 5. The venture case is either 100 million or it's out. It's nothing, because you will not be able to return that. You will always grow faster. You will burn money all the time. You're not going into profitability, big or nothing. And that was not something I wanted. I wanted a business that can change my life, and I'm happy with a 5 million business. Like, I don't need more. I aim for more. That's fine, but I don't want the 100 million or nothing approach. So I thought for most founders, that would be the much better approach, because the business would be successful. It would be a success in whatever metric way, way sooner. And also, I saw how founders are pushed out by their investors. Being it, like, even might be correct, might be not correct, but I could not make myself comfortable with the idea that I start a company, I bring other people in, I give it my all, 5 years, 10 years, I hustle my ass off to bring return to them and to me, and then I get pushed out because they just can, and they can, decide the fate. And if there is something in the market, or they have to rebalance their portfolio, I have to, do as they wish just because the wind changed a little bit. I don't have to do the best for the company, I have to do the best for them. I didn't want that. Like, if Mark Zuckerberg is a good example of keeping leverage, even getting investors on, he can still decide whatever he wants. That he did great, I think, in this regard. But again, I can do a small business and I can change my world. I don't have to change a VC's world or whatever. So that was the big rationale for me, because it's not necessary and it doesn't change the outcome at the end of the day, but it's a lot more stressful and less likely to be a success. So when I'm able to program myself and I'm willing to learn what I can't do, I can start myself. And even if there is a barrier at some point, let's say internationalization, scale up, whatever it is, or we have this big vision, we want to go there now. I bootstrapped 4 years, reached 1 million in ARR. I proved the business model works. I proved it's profitable. I proved that there is a market for it. I proved that we can deliver on it, etc., etc. I'm in a much better position now than with a PowerPoint deck before I even build anything. So the further you can go bootstrapped, even if it's not the whole journey, but the further you can go alone or just your founder team, without investors, the better you are basically at the negotiating table then.
One nuance I want to add to this discussion of, like, when you raise VC, it's either 0 or 100. For people listening who are not aware of this, but oftentimes, if you are a founder and you're VC backed, you are allowed to take some chips off the table after, let's say, 1, 2, 3 years, something like that, in secondary sales, right? So you might be able to, like, take some chips off the table. Usually, let's say that's like 2 million, 3 million, something like that. They are not going to allow you to, like, have a 20 million exit or something like that, because they want you to stay motivated, right? But usually a VC, if you're in the right position, they will allow you to take some chips off the table, simply because they also want to relieve, some of the pressure from the founder. At the same time, they want to keep you motivated. Like, you're not going to have the mega exit, because then why should you even still work hard, right? That's some nuance. But I completely agree with what you said about, when you go to these industrial areas, and you see these companies, that is literally, like, for me, that's the dream. Like, owning one of these, in Germany we call it Mittelstand, right? These SMEs, a family-owned business, fully private, so you take no shits from anyone, right? You have your customers, you had them for probably hundreds of years, and you're wildly profitable, and you're just printing cash. And you're not, you don't have any investors or stakeholders that are shitting on you. I think that is much more desirable than building this massive company where you own like 0.1% and you have hundreds of stakeholders who want something from you.
Yeah, I agree. And to your nuance, I agree with this, and I think it's a good thing. For example, people told me also I need to take some chips off the table. I mean, that's what will, like, to get some financial stability in my private life and be able to go more calmly through rough patches in the business journey. Also, one thing where the Geoman exit is helping me, of course, right? Because I now have a buffer without taking any chips off the table with Parquet. But I also think the fact that other people decide this for me, it's the same as being employed again, just with a different title. Like if they own 60-70% of the business and I'm basically the employed CEO with a share package, yeah, I can be employed again. It's also fine. Yeah, there might be a higher return, but I didn't start a business to be employed again. I started a business to prove to myself and see if I'm able to do this, to create this. And I also want the return of it. I give shares to my employees, of course. I want everyone who works with me to get a return on that, not only salary, but also if in case we sell. But it also should be just a nice cash flowing business that is awesome to own. There might be an exit in the future. There might even be a time when we raise money. I don't know. But what I want to do is an awesome business to keep, a profitable business that has nice cash flow, that changes my life, that creates a good life for my employees, that creates awesome value for my customers. That is awesome to own. And if you have a business like this, it's also, it will be awesome to sell because everyone would be happy to own a business like this. So I only focus on building a business like this, and the rest happens if it happens. If it doesn't, again, I'm creating my Batna, my alternative. I want to keep it. I don't want to get into a position where I have to sell or something like this. So in this case, I'm maybe a little bit more risk averse than VC founders or founders who are backed by VC, maybe. But I'm okay with that. And I'm still shooting high. It just takes a little bit longer because I have to generate revenue first because before I can hire the first person and things like that. So it just takes a little bit longer. But it's much more sustainable.
So one question definitely is still open. You bootstrapped essentially a side hustle to now 1 million ARR. How?
One step at a time. One step at a time. So in the beginning, I wasn't sure if people are willing to pay for this kind of tool. It was the first of its kind here in Germany, and I had a problem myself. Parquet is a portfolio tracking tool. So I started investing into stocks and ETFs with different brokerages, and I wanted basically an overview of my net worth, right? And this includes brokerage accounts, cash, crypto, whatever it is. And I want to be motivated. I want also with investments, I look more for dividends because I like the cash flow, and I want to see like the charts go up from left bottom to top right from a net worth perspective and from dividend income perspective. So I'm a person who tracks stuff too, especially on long-term goals. I think this is very motivating. Doesn't matter if it's gym or weight or finances, tracking
What's
will
your weight
motivate
now?
and keep you under control. So I weigh around 100 kilos, 100.
There is this narrative. There's this narrative, and I don't know where it came from, but and it must be true that if you are below 3 digits kilogram of body weight as a man, you're not really a real man. So it's good you're a real man.
Yeah, okay. I try to get below 3 digits, but you just motivated to stay up.
Don't
I will get my burger later.
Just try, just stay up
good.
there.
Good. Thank you.
Keep the gains.
Yeah, definitely. Gym time tomorrow again. Yeah, so tracking all of that is very motivating, and it gives you a compass where to go, and it shows you a little bit where you might have risk or something like this. So I built this for myself, and then as fast as possible, I try to validate if people are signing up for it, using it, enjoying it, giving me feedback, and then validating if they pay for it. So I added a paid plan as soon as possible. Like, it was so minimal and solved such a small problem. But if I find one person to pay for it, I earned my first euro on the internet just by sitting there and coding. Then maybe the second person, the third person, whatever. Then there were like 50 people paying for now. I was like, okay, maybe there is something in there. And I had all of these like steps that I tried to validate. Do people sign up? Am I able to attract people to it? Like doing marketing, basically. Am I able, like, do they pay for it? Are they willing to? And when, like, how long do they use it? And I continued, like, I talked to customers all the time, try to understand how they use it, why they don't use it, why they churn, like stop paying and things like that. Very, very
Let me
close.
just dig in for one quick second. So, okay, you need to obviously develop some kind of MVP. Either you're able to do that yourself, it's great, it's the best option, or maybe you can get someone on board to do that for you. Might work too. If it doesn't work, you're fucked. Okay, but let's assume you built this thing, and now you wanna. I'm interested. You don't seem like the kind of guy who's like the marketing genius. You also don't have like millions of people following online, even though you have a nice little following. So how did you like? What do you? Are there some sites to test that where people who developed something like Product Hunt or whatever? Like how did you get that these initial people on there?
Yeah, the first customers. That is a great question, and a lot of people struggle with this. So back then I had no audience. I started documenting the journey of building this, and that's when I grew my indie hacker side hustle bootstrapper following a little bit. So back then I had no following. And by the way, the launch, I live streamed it on YouTube. So the video is still there in English, how I launched. So exactly what I did. I did it live with all the feedback, crushing feedback and good feedback. It's all there. But yeah, so what? Yeah, okay, nice. That so what I did was, you have to be not only able to build the product, or your co-founder or whoever, it doesn't matter. Someone has to build the product if it's a digital product, of course. But you also have to be able to market it. It's half the battle, half, not like 10%. It's half. So part of the validation is, can I find people for it? So I thought about, okay, I try to attract people, and I told you in the beginning, one bank, one currency, only stocks. So where do I find these people? I need to find customers of that bank. And that bank had a forum. So I registered there. I started to talk there a little bit. Then I went into other forums where customers of that bank hang out with, in general, other retail investors and discuss. So there were 3 sites, a stock forum, the forum of the bank, and a subreddit, a German subreddit for finances. And I didn't went there and said, look, I have a product to sell. I said, I'm an investor. I'm investing myself. I have a problem, and I built this tool to solve my own problem. I want to show it to you and ask you what you think. So I just asked for feedback. First people signed up, of course. They want to test it. There was nothing to sell. It was for free, of course. I got lots of feedback. People thought it was interesting. People DM'd me. Influencers DM'd me, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? So then it started a little bit word of mouth. And I always commented there, hey, I added this. I fixed this bug. Here's a new feature. And I commented in there. And I was part of that community and added value. And at some point I thought, okay, let's do this a little bit better. I will put a pro plan in. And then, of course, some people complain. For some people, it's worth it. Then the forums kick you out because they say, now you do advertising. Now it's a paid product. You do advertise now. But hopefully you have already, a few followers on your social media or whatever it is. And then you just start doing the standard marketing stuff. I had built something in that helped me with marketing. I built in that people could share portfolios. So they could say it's public. And if they then sent a link to someone, everyone could see it. So influencers started using it. That was also the intention behind it. Influencers started using it when they wanted to show people the investments, like all these finance channels on Instagram and TikTok and wherever. And they put in their portfolios and showed it. And then people were asking them, hey, what tool do you use? And then I told them, look, here's an affiliate deal. How about you send people my way and you get a little bit of commission? So basically it was influencer marketing at the end of the day, in the beginning especially. Then at some point we added SEO, we added our own YouTube channel, we started our own social media companies when I was able to afford the people for it. And I myself, with the whole open startup thing where I talked about it a lot, that was also a little bit of marketing. It attracted especially employees at some point. So everyone who works with the company started following me at some point. And Yeah, but also some customers. But that also, I only needed like 500 customers to cover costs, and that's absolutely doable. There are millions out here in Germany that invest in stocks, and I only need to find 500. Then at some point I need to, find the next 1,000 or something like this. It's always doable if you do one step at a time, one little step at a time.
Because how do you earn money? Like, let's break that down. You said 500 people, 1 million ARR. How is that composed? How do you actually make money?
So basically, we can do rough numbers. It's 10 euros a month as a subscription. We have 12,000 customers, paying customers. So that's 1.2 million euros in annual recurring revenue. It's not exactly that. It's a little bit lower because we have people on an older plan with a cheaper model. There are discounts and things like that. But these are the rough numbers. It's 10 euros a month for the most popular plan. We also have a more expensive version. There also is a business version with obviously higher tickets and things like this. But the main revenue comes from B2C right now.
And what does the cost side look like?
Always bad, I'd say. So we are profitable, of course, but the highest items obviously are employees, data. In the finance world, data is very expensive. And then
what is data, for example? I mean, employees, I think, make sense for everyone, right? You need to pay people who work for you. But what about data?
You track your portfolio. So we need the underlying data. That means all the stock information, the stock prices, the historical stock data, the dividend stuff, the events that they do, like the capital measures, like a split, for example, the Tesla split, Apple split, things like this. We need the announced dividends. We need the ETF breakdowns, what actual holdings are inside the ETFs, like all this kind of stuff. There's so much data to purchase, news and things like that.
That's super interesting, especially for someone who's not into it. Obviously you need to pay for all of that data, and there's companies making lots of money with that. Now, to kind of wrap it up slowly, there's one interesting thing that might make you cooler than Peter Levels, and that is that this is actually pretty megalomaniacal. I mean, this platform, I would say, and you said in a recent LinkedIn post, I think, that you want to turn this into a proper platform. You want to turn it into the leading wealth management tool. It's quite a big vision. That's not like a, small website that will, stay at 50K monthly revenue or whatever, but this thing can actually turn into something pretty massive. So, first of all, why even, was that just something that grew naturally and you're like, okay, I'm sitting on a rocket ship, so why not just ride it? Because it's also, you now have employees, right? So you have more responsibility, people to take care of. So was that like a conscious thing? And then obviously tell us a bit about what's the big vision behind that.
Yeah, good question. So at the end of the day, I'm not someone who wants to overpromise ever. So that's why I also don't like to go into an investor pitch and tell them we will conquer the world. I hate that because I just don't know it, and they know also that I can't know it. It's okay, we will try this, but it's completely random. So what I rather do is over-deliver, under-promise and over-deliver always. So I never, in the 4 years that I'm doing this now, talked about the big picture. I have something in mind and I have a plan and a hope, but I'm not putting this on the website. I only put stuff on the website or talk about this publicly, what I have already or know will soon be there, right? So to close proximity to where we are currently, usually. But things are changing. Others are not, a lot of competitors arose in that time. And because I'm very open with revenue and everything, obviously there were a lot of copycats. Like now there are so many tools. We were the first of its kind, but now there are many, even VC-backed competitors. And new ones coming in that have basically advantages over us, being it marketing reach, being it funding, both, whatever it is, right? There is competition coming, and people come for us because we are, by at least some metrics that I can see, the biggest one, right? The people that everyone is compared to. Sorry, the tool that everyone is compared to. So if someone new enters the market, they are compared to us, at least from what I can see. That means if I don't publicly talk about the big thing that we want to build, people will use that as leverage against me in PR and say, this is the small tool, they just focus on this. We are building this one. And we are too big now to ignore this kind of stuff. The press is talking about us. When new people launch, they do announcements, they say, new competition for Parquet, things like this. So we are in the conversation always. And I have to be in there and take a stand. This just changed now. So in this case, I didn't give a 5-year roadmap or something. I still try to have a close proximity, but to where we are now. But I wanted to give a glimpse into our ambition, and that was that we will also serve B2B customers, which we are doing today, but we didn't do it very publicly. So we will serve them as well, in addition to our focus on B2C, and we will open up our basically platform with APIs to give external developers a way to connect to our data, if our customers agree, obviously, and build additional value on top of it. Things that we don't go into, like stock analysis or withdraw tax, like what you pay with dividends, to get that back, or the direct connection to banks, push and pull, or to other assets like watches and Porsche and real estate and all this kind of stuff. So external developers can build integrations. And I think this is a very, very amazing thing that adds value to a lot of people, not only to our customers, but also to our external developers. And it can be a great tool for the financial world in general here in DACH. And I want to build it, and I think we can do it. We are also very close to it, and we can do it without funding. We can do it ourselves. So I was comfortable to talk about it, even if it's a little bit like going out of my comfort zone a little bit and talk about the future a little bit more than I do usually. But I felt it was needed because the competition is rising, and they have a lot of ways to compete with us, where we just have to defend our spot and be a little bit more outspoken about where we want to go.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's really nice to see that, you always adjust your ambition level upwards. So I think you probably have been a completely different person when like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But you constantly kind of test the limits, and then you push the limits, and you notice, holy shit, it actually works, right? And there's some people who then at some point get content, and they're like, okay, who would have in your situation now maybe said, let's just keep it small, or let me sell this thing and I'm going to be the employed CEO and I have my money and that's it, but you obviously keep pushing, and I think that's pretty cool. That's also, that's something that probably unites both of us, but for me it was different, where since I'm very young, I have been a little bit, like thinking much bigger than most of my peers. But I think we're, probably the older we get, when we're both 80, we'll be pretty similar, because
we do this again here when we are 80, podcast again and look back. But no, it's, you're completely right. I think, 1 million ARR is a fantastic milestone, but I'm already, since a few months, I'm looking at how can I build a business that goes into 10 million, into 10 million revenue, a number that I would never have thought about when I started. I started this to make like 1,000 euros on the side or 2,000 euros on the side or whatever per month. And now we are here, and there is a much bigger ambition now, obviously. And like, what value do I have to add to the market? What value do I have to add to customers to be able to reach that? How many employees do I need? Like what? And this is super interesting to me. I love to learn that. It's fucking fun. I apologize if I say it like this, but I love building things. And even if I sell it one day, or even if it goes to shit and I lose everything, I will start the next thing. I just love building this kind of stuff, and it's really, really fun. And at some point, I would love to go for the really big one, like a really big shot, maybe with VC money, try to do 100 million, not because I need the money or I want the return or something like this, but because it's fun to build a business like this. And I would love to see the challenge, to feel what it's like to have 1,000 employees or something like this. I can't even imagine.
It's a bit like a computer game, right? It's like, it's the next level of difficulty that
exactly.
you also want to master. And then the few people who actually master it, they get we're all drawn to them because it's fascinating to see, right? It's like you see these people, it's same as when you watch someone playing an actual computer game at an extremely high level and you're like, holy shit, there's probably just 10 other people on this globe who are able to play this game at such a level. And it's kind of the same with business or life or sports or anything else that fascinates humans.
I would love to find the limit, I always because I kind of had to prove myself always, as we talked about in the beginning with like my career and stuff. I'm always like, if somebody tells me you can't do it, I always say, okay, then I will do it. I'm always motivated by
you're like
people
Arnold
underestimating
Schwarzenegger.
me or something like this. It's weird, but it just is the case. I don't know. Not like him. He's the Champions League in his game. But I'm willing to test the idea, and until I decide I'm not able to do it, this is too hard. Like there is something here that I can't do, either my brain or my people skills or the stress level or whatever it is. But I'm not there yet. So I will go further until I find that limit, and we will see how far it goes. But this is the good part. At some point, my family is safe. There is enough, I don't know, cash flow, something like this, so I can take more risks and do more ambitious things. In your first venture, as you said, you have a lot of financial pressure. You take no salary yourself. You put everything into the business. It creates a lot of pressure. But my second daughter will be born in a month and 4 weeks, and then I want them to.
Last question: is it helpful to be shredded and big as a CEO of a wealth management platform?
Let's put it this way, it doesn't hurt. I'm not shredded, but let's put it this way. If you have a fit body, in the beginning when I was at Stripe and Parquet, I treated my body like crap. I ate crap. I didn't do any sports, nothing. Horrible. If you look in the videos if you look at me in the videos from back then, you can see the difference. But a healthy body can tolerate that stress and perform on a high level every day much, much better than if you treat your body poorly. So doing sports regularly, something that is new to me, just since 2 years or something, I'm doing this every day. I would recommend every founder to do it. Make it a routine and a priority. I will not get onto my desk here before I was at the gym every day, and I can definitely recommend it. When you have your own company, you have the flexibility to do this in your day, and I recommend you do it some way or another. You need the balance, and if that works, you can.
Mens sana in corpore sano. And with that, Sumit, any last words? If someone wants to learn more about you, where should they go? Or anything else that you want to close this with?
Okay, so if you want to follow my journey a little bit, I'm talking about this kind of stuff, side hustle and bootstrapping and founding companies and building products, mostly on Twitter, at Tweets of Sumit, and in my podcast, Minimal Empires, but that one is German. So only if you are able to speak or understand German, then happy to have you. Other than that, if you are trying to build a company or a business on the side or something like this, I hope I added a little bit of inspiration to your journey. But the important part that I want to, if you want to take one thing away, just start. Start, even if you fail. Start, try, learn. You will not get anywhere if you don't take the first step. So I wish you all the best in that.